Good evening. So, I guess I had a little issue yesterday. Apparently, YouTube has quotas. Who knew? I didn't. Anyway, so that said, apparently there's quotas, but now you can do something about that. But what you can do is that once you hit a certain echelon, namely 1,000 subscribers, and then a certain number of hours watched and this type of thing, then there's other options, right? So I just have to chug along and get 1,000 subscribers, so we'll see. With that said, it was a little frustrating not being able to jump on last night. But looks like we have everything all set. Oh, look at that. Cool. Awesome. Good timing. Jumped on just in time. So I'm not exactly sure what the quota is. I dug around a little bit. I looked into the settings. I looked into some of the help stuff. Some of the dev stuff. And there wasn't a clear answer on how much or under what time period. And I haven't been posting a lot of videos. I've just been live streaming. Probably now for a couple weeks. So I'm not sure. We'll see how that plays out. And if I bump into this quota again, I may consider just doing like a Zoom type thing, with a select group of people, and then posting videos until I can, hit that 1,000 subscriber mark, and then be able to deal with it where it won't become an issue in the future. So we'll see. In the meantime, that's that. So, but it's good to be back. So that said, I had a great day yesterday, and I wanted to share it with everybody. And so now I'll just share it this evening. One of the things that I do here in the community is I volunteer with a group that is it's part of the Council of Churches, and there's a thrift store called The Well. And what The Well is a place you can go to get, for instance, clothing for $1 or $2, right? Get a whole suit for $5, or a pair of shoes for $1. Children's toys for $0.25, 50 cents, and there's a whole other section that's everything's free, right? And so it's a great place for people to come to donate, and for people to come to get things, at a serious bargain, right? So that said, you bump into a lot of different kinds of people. And due to the diversity of both people kind of passing through and 6 generations of a family in the area, you get this really interesting influx of stuff that gets donated, and that includes books. And so I grabbed a bunch of books that I thought would be a fun exercise to kind of take it through this process here and see what if the story pops up anywhere, right? Spoiler, it pops up everywhere. And it's going to be a lot of fun. There's a couple of examples that in particular were pretty interesting. We're going to be looking at a kind of a continuation on Temurah, but from a much higher level now. We're going to sort of graduate to the next level and understand that there's different methods of how and why you line these letters up. And so not only as a cipher, but as a method of permutation and changing names and creating new names and sigil work and these type of things. And so there's various methods of permutating the letters. And so we're going to kind of talk about that as well, the different methods and then why they're chosen that way and under what circumstance you would use what method and so forth. Right? So that's going to be a lot of fun too. We're going to get into some Goetic stuff because as you'll see as we go through some of these books that I grabbed, one of them is which is a really, really interesting book. It's probably one of those like original classical children's books that touches on Kabbalah and touches on mysticism, but without people realizing. It's just really great. It's called The Carpet of Solomon. And it talks about the creator of the carpet and who that is, right? And we're going to be speaking about that tonight with respect to Goetia. Andromalius. Who is Andromalius? We'll find out. Apparently he's the creator of the carpet that allows you to travel around the world and so forth. And then Crowley and the letters. And what this is that there's a brief excerpt that I'm going to kind of highlight from 777, or it might be from Gematria, but it's in 777 and other Kabbalistic works, where it's just a very simple, brief 22-line version of the Hebrew letters in respect to the majors. And so we're going to look at the majors and look at those letters, and it's going to give us a little bit of insight into what they mean and how we can use them in readings. And I thought that that'd be a good time to kind of coincide that with taking a look at a chart. I thought today we're going to kind of get down and dirty and do a bunch of work on paper, right? And this is the way that it should be done anyway. And so I have a dry erase marker and a piece of plastic that we're going to draw on. That is a great idea, Missy. Yep, that's the answer. That is the answer. So I have to think about what to name it. We should come up with a name for the new channel. That's easy. Take metaphysics and run Temurah, and that's the name of the new channel. See? That's good stuff. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually do it on paper. So I have a larger version of the wheel. And just some guidance for I said to have it on paper in front of me up on the computer here, so that what we can do is just it's there in front of us, and we don't have to worry about looking back and forth and flipping around and doing all this kind of thing. It'll just be there for us. So this will be up there. We'll have this down here, and then I thought it'd be nice to I have a printout of my natal chart, and I thought it'd be interesting to look over it. As an example of how to run that reading that I spoke about, the house reading. Right? And so what we can do is actually take a look at the wheel itself, take a look at some of the stuff on the report, take a look at some of the aspect data, and then at the same time, just for fun, actually run some of the information down and take a look at it with a dry erase marker on a piece of plastic and sort of see how we derive this and where this comes from, how this reading comes about. Because, the goal here ultimately is to connect all these different bodies of knowledge with this one vocabulary of the tarot. And why tarot? Well, it's complex enough to get really granular. But it's also archetypal enough to really speak to the big ideas, and that's the important thing. Plus, it doesn't hurt that it's small and physical and manipulatable, and you can move them around and see the connections and turn them upside down and sideways, and there's something to be said for the tactile experience of the storytelling in the tarot as well. So when you combine all these things, the language and the idea of this sort of divine order and the vocabulary of astrology, but then in the hands of the speaker of the tarot being the speaker, it really is a very powerful system for getting to the heart of questions and things like that. So we'll take a look at Crowley's interpretation of the majors, apply it to an actual chart, and go from there and see how that works out. It's a great way to kind of get a sense of how back in the day this kind of work was done before it became more of a mainstream thing and a lot of this stuff was forgotten, right? And the goal here again is to maintain the integrity, and the way that we're going to do that is to demonstrate the work continually, done in the old way, right? Some low magic stuff, some high magic stuff that's before it became tainted by propaganda, right? And so we're going to be doing a lot of that today too, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Let me just look at my notes here and make sure that there's nothing I missed. We're also going to be doing on paper some sigils as well, right? So I have my key here that I have printed out. We're going to put a piece of plastic on top of that with a dry erase marker, and we're going to draw sigils the old school way, It's not brought into manifest reality until it's brought into manifest reality, right? You draw it into the world, and it is literally born at that moment. So that's what we're trying to do here. Let's see if there's anything I missed that I know I wanted to speak about today. Oh yeah, the horses. I have some stuff that went down related to the horse. And I'm sure there's some stories out there too, and I can't wait. Okay, let's catch up on the chat. Loana, hello, Brianna. Missy, everybody's here. That's awesome. Can I offer my chart to use? Absolutely. In fact, I'll run it live. Okay. And so if you want, why don't you text me so it's not, unless you don't mind. Yes, they do. Yep. And that's the important thing, because that, the language is derived through the divine order, and so there is a truth to it, right? Oh, Brianna looks like she has a horse story too. That's awesome. Yeah, mine. I'll get to last. I want you guys, whoever bumped into a horse story and had to do with the word foresee. So that's what we were trying to do, right? We were going to see a horse running, probably. Right? I started a drawing of. Oh, cool. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So text me your whatnots and your who's it's, date, time, location. If you don't know the exact location, at least give me the city so I can get your rising sign correct. And then we'll pop the chart up and we'll use your chart. That's pretty cool. So in the meantime, then, what else did I want to talk about here? Yeah, we'll get there. The whole goal of all of what we're doing here is the one truth. That is the goal. And during the playtime, we get to learn the connections. And what the purpose of that is to see that truth. Okay? Awesome. Exactly what I needed. Thank you. Let me pop the software up and I'll get that going while we're talking here. And so the idea is... the idea is making these different connections between the different bodies of knowledge using a single vocabulary system, but it doesn't hurt to have some fluency in all of the languages so that the connections become more fluid. They become more easily kind of just sort of mashed together, and which is the goal anyway, right? And so... in the meantime, let me begin entering her stuff into the ephemeris and get the chart up. And Brianna, if you want to start telling your story, that would be awesome. And let me just begin inputting. Oh, I love it when people give me the hospital. That's the best. If you know the name of the hospital, you can't get any closer. So let me get the actual location. And there it is. Mm-hmm. Almost there. Okay. Alrighty, so what we're looking at here is the your chart. Let me get the correct date up. I want to look at the natal aspects. There we go. Okay. So this shows us a couple things. Shows you as Aries rising. Alright, let me just grab this and have and print it real quick so I have a paper copy to do this with. Give me just a moment to get that done. Pardon me, it may be a little awkward for a moment. Done here. Just got to crop this out and then I'll print the chart real quick and then we'll be good to go. There we go. Okay. Let me just print this and we'll be good to go. Just took me a sec to crop that out. I apologize. Almost there. There we go. All right, let me just grab that from the printer. Give me a couple minutes to just take care of that really quickly. Wow, yeah. And I'll be right back. And let me just go. I'll get the plastic and everything into, and we'll set that up, and we'll begin there. Okay. So, I guess the first thing we'll do then is we'll interpret the chart, and I have the majors all ready to go. So I won't have to go digging for them. They're in order and they're ready to go. And so I'll be using the large thoth, and I'll be right back. Alrighty. So let's put these aside here for a moment. So what this is just simply a craft pad, like a cutting surface, turned upside down. I like it because it sticks to the desk nice and it keeps it from moving. And then the piece of plastic that I draw on with the dry erase, right, so that I can leave the chart fresh and do horoscopes and other things, but the chart stays, right? Let me just get some things out here as well. It's always nice to have the deacons sort of in front of you and have it turned to the correct time, which is going to be January. And just as a reference as well, just to have this out, because I thought it'd be neat to draw a sigil of the birthday, right? And so let's just go through the whole exercise here. First thing would be to draw a sigil of the birthday. So we just have to do some conversion. Okay, let's drop our rose underneath. This is also very good with transparency. Right, so you can go to your local office supply store, get yourself a package of dry erase markers in various colors. It's good to have red, blue, green, and black, and transparencies, or the sleeves that you can slip an 8.5 by 11 into for a 3-ring binder are also good to write on with the dry erase. And so let's go ahead and just decode the birthday. And we'll go from there, right? And so we're starting at Aleph, right? And we were doing we're going to loop back, and then we're going to jump to a 9, which is Tet, and Tet is here. So we're going to go 1, 9, 1, 9. And so how we derive that, we just took each digit, starting with Aleph, right? And so it was Aleph Tau, or sorry, Tet. Then up to the Ket, and then back down to the Tet. Right, and so, and what that left us with, almost looks like a fairy sitting down. You see it? Beautiful. That's a tattoo waiting to happen right there. Just have a little look at, have it looking up into a star with 7 rays. You know, or something along those lines. Just beautiful, gorgeous. Anyway, so this is the sigil for your birthday. All right. Yes, and well, what I'll do is that I'll take a screen grab of that later, and we'll make it pretty. Okay. But you can also just get a vibe for drawing that, get practice for it. Like, so you're going to draw the head. You're going to start with the head. Okay, you're going to go down, up, over, up, down, and then there's a foot, right? And so you've got that kind of idea. And as long as you practice how you want it, it doesn't have to be in the exact ratios that are there. Just make it beautiful and something that is representative of something that makes you feel comfortable identifying with it. You can even have it sort of looking at you. Beautiful. But you get the idea, okay? And so yeah, we'll take a screenshot of that later from the video, and then we'll make it pretty and send it to you. But you can always circle back, hit pause, have fun with that. Or also grab the rose. There's a few books that have it that you might have in your possession. I believe that Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot may have a rose diagram in it. Book of Thoth almost certainly does, and you can go through the exercise, right? So that's an example of a sigil based on the birth date of an individual, right? And so we can apply that to whether we're doing talismanic or amulet type stuff, or whether we're doing an artistic endeavor that has to do with the person's personality, or like some soul work. Well, no, actually, there's a kind of report that I put together, Missy, which shows kind of everything. And so it includes, I'll pull one up as an example here. That I'm kind of putting together to show what's available. There we go. So essentially what it would include is there we go. All the natal data. It would include all of the let me jump to that. Important here. It would also include all of the data for depending upon the body of that you're interested in. Some people are more Church of Light, some people are more Magi. Like, it just depends on what your system is. But it's also going to include, for instance, Eastern astrology, so like Chinese astrology and zodiac, which is really most important due to the elemental system, right? The whole idea there is of the elemental system, right? I mean, that's really where we get most of our learning rather than just the animal, just the sign itself, so to speak, is sort of what is it, in what aspect does it live? Is it in the state of reception, or is it in a state of bestowal? Is it in a state of wanting or rejecting, right? And all these kinds of things. Also, the full gematria, right? And so here's an example of the full gematria on a name. Well, this is basic stuff, like the basic stuff on top there. Do the basic theosophical reduction, do the basic gematria and Temurah, and then you can really get into the heart of some stuff by finding sentences and other things. It takes a little bit of extra, but yeah. And this is the kind of report that I do, originally. When working with anybody the first time out, is to kind of create a bio, kind of a snapshot of all of this information. And that also includes laying out the story, right? Like laying out the story, the individual story for the individual time, period of time. And so once this is laid out and it's complete, you can apply the algorithm to it with the vortex and then have all 4 pieces of the spread ready to go just from this. And then during that process, you do the chart, you do the sigils, you do the numerology, you do the theosophical reduction, and you kind of have a snapshot, right? It's like a DNA test that gives you all the different lineage, right? Okay, so that's that. That was a really pretty sigil for your birthday. Yep. True story. I'm just checking something on the chart here. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at some stuff here. So this individual is an Aries rising, right? And that's also Mars right there in Aries. Mars and Aries and they're right next to each other. We'll get to this up here in a sec, because that's pretty intense. Okay, there's your sun. Mercury in Aquarius. And you got this here. Venus. Excuse me. Neptune. Saturn. Uranus. All the outer planets, with the exception of Jupiter, which is across the sky from them, right? Very close together. I mean, and we can include, yeah, like right on, like just a little bit past noon. All right, so then, what else we got going on here? This is interesting too. Your part of fortune is like dead on in Libra. It's 1 degree off center. Here's your moon, 3 degrees off center in Cancer. We'll talk about that too. Your Jupiter's in Taurus. All right, so then now let's look at this with respect to the tarot. Okay. So what we do here is we just simply if you're not familiar, I'll pop this up. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're just going to kind of lay out on the chart here to give you an example of what's where. This is the first house, second, third, so on. A lot of activity in your 9th house. A lot of activity. Now what we do, based on the time of the birth, we're going to set that as the 1 position, right? Because typically the 1 position, and you'll notice here on the chart, on the wheel. Starts the year on Aries, typically. Now, it doesn't always start on Aries. Actually, a lot of times it'll start on Leo for a different reason, which we'll talk about another time. But so what we're going to do is just essentially rotate this wheel to the appropriate period of time of their birth, which is toward Capricorn. Almost into Aquarius type period of time, right? Or we're into Aquarius by a little bit, right? Oh, you're still in Capricorn. Yeah, no, you're still in Capricorn. Okay. So, and so you'll see that obviously the house has moved. And so just to clarify then, what we're talking about here is in the first house we have Capricorn. Okay. In the second house we have Aquarius. And then Pisces, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sag. Okay, and then back into Capricorn in the first house. So you see how we derive that. And so what we're looking at here then, in the first house, which is the self or identity, she is in Capricorn. Now, there's a few ways that we can look at that. Now, the first way that typically I look at this is I look at it with respect to the majors, right, of the period of time. And as a reference, again, I'll pop this up here, and you'll see on the side, it'll show the different cards and what they're associated with as far as signs and planets, right? And so obviously we're looking at the signs. But Capricorn, I just know for a fact, is the devil. So let me just grab that. And what we do is we lay the cards out in the appropriate order here, right? So let's just find all the majors and get them out here on the desk. Alright, so then basically we're going to lay the cards out according to this order with respect to this layout right here, right? And so in the first house we're going to grab Capricorn, which is Devil. Right. Aquarius, the Star. And then again, if you want, I can pop the chart up. Here we go. And that'll be on the bottom, right, on the bottom right there. Aquarius, Star. Okay. Pisces. Moon. Aries is the Emperor. Taurus is Hierophant. Gemini is Lovers. Cancer is Chariot. Leo, Lust, Strength in the Rider-Waite system, but Lust in the Thoth. Virgo is the Hermit. Libra, Adjustment, Justice in the Rider system. Scorpio, Death. Art or Temperance for Sagittarius. First row. No way this fits. Just to clarify, let's pop your chart up at the same time. Here's your wheel. Right. I don't know what that looks like on your end, if you're looking at it on a phone or a larger screen, but if you can see it on a larger screen, this is your bottom row. Okay. And what I'm going to do really quickly is just take a screenshot once it's all lined up and pretty. Let's make that all crooked so it gets to the obsessive compulsiveness. Okay, the moon is crooked. Okay, let me go ahead and take a snapshot. Alright, so I'll email you that as well. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. A few individuals have come in and we just need to say hello real quickly. Firstly, I'd like to welcome the one and the only Shushu, ladies and gentlemen. Shushu is in the house. I spent the past 48 minutes trying to find something to talk about until he got here. And now that he's here, we may begin. And I'm also trying to get the pronunciation right here of the soror. Let's get this correct. Okay, hang on here. Troberiza Perdigona. Purdy. Hi, Lauren. How you doing? Thank you for popping in. And also, there's a few names that I needed to dole out before we get to the horse stuff. So, yeah, so Shushu, I don't know if Wendy is listening. But if Wendy is listening, her name, let's do it right. Hitherto you shall be known as Loquiverum. So mote it be. None of this ever happened. Okay, so there you go. So Wendy has a name. Welcome to the Inner Order. I know what deck I'm getting her. And I know what deck I'm giving you too, Shushu. Okay. And so, let's see. Let me put this aside. Both. Be afraid. Be very afraid. You know why you should be afraid? Because once you're afraid, you're halfway there. Fear is halfway to freedom, baby. Once you create the space where the fear lives and then it disappears, the space is left and you get to fill it with whatever you want. We're going to be talking about that here in a sec. So let's just take a quick run through here. We won't do the full reading because it'll take too long, but let's just do a quick run through here. So right in the one spot for your identity, we have the devil. And we can talk about that all day long, but you know, we know the gist of what we're talking about here is which intelligence we give power to, right? Which will we choose to honor. And if we choose to honor the lower will too much and we identify with it, you know, we're in big trouble there. All right. And then let's pop the wheel up again. Because in your second spot here, which is a different circumstance, we have the moon. And this is in your possessions, like your physical possession, like your money spot, right? Or the the position that's related to your the physical manifestations in your world, the things that you do to bring them into physical manifestation, and that's in Aquarius. The star is also a beautiful card here because if we remember what the star is referring to, what we're talking about is the idea of the you before or after. Identity. This is the you shed of the nonsense through doing the work of the hermit. And once you've done the work of the hermit, you have the ability to shed yourself of the identity, reap the reward of the tower and the death period, and then realize your truth, right? Like, again, when we point attention at something in the outside world and we realize the one truth, that's actually us we're looking at, and that it's looking back, and the thing we put attention to becomes real through that exercise, and we view a star, we recognize the fact that we are that star. We actually have that same influence. Not only do we have that level of gravity and that level of brightness, but we also can shed that light across billions of light years and be seen across billions of years of time, because we are a star. And that's really the lesson here. And for that to come up in your money area, just kind of refers to the fact that when it comes to manifesting things physically into your world, if you do it rightly, by honoring the correct will, it will happen super automatic for you. Like, things just come to you, things work for you, but only when you're in the right place. When you're not, and you know exactly what I mean, right? And you'll see here in the 3 spot, we have the moon. Right, and so in your 3rd house, which is now this is an important word that I want to clarify. When you ever see the word communication and language, I want to very importantly draw the distinction about what I mean about language, because language is the fabric of the universe. You know, we were taught that the universe is made of billiard balls that bang together, and then we were taught that those billiard balls are something called atoms, where they're a nucleus with the electrons, and then we were taught, no, it's not really that, it's a probability distribution, and the electron could be anywhere, we don't know. And then we learn all these things. It turns out none of that's true. If you get to the core of what we're looking at here, the universe is made of language. Because the only things that are actually brought into physical manifestation in this world is what you create, and what you have created since the beginning of time through your attention. And so if you consider the fact that it's all a conversation, at the end of the day, how you converse with your universe determines how you manifest, and how you converse is determined by your language, your vocabulary. What is this? Is it a 2? Is it bunny ears? Is it fingers? Is it the letter V? Is it the number 5? Does it mean victory? It depends upon the context. Animals, it's a bunny. Numerals, it's a 2. Right? It's none of those things. And so language is important. And so that's what that means in that spot. When you see things that refer to language, that's what we're talking about here. Okay, so what we're talking about in the 3 spot for your language is the moon. Okay, and now what that means is 2 things. The first thing is that you have the ability to keep secrets. But more so than that is also that you're fluent in the language of other people's lies. You see through the bullshit quick and easy, right? You know the difference between somebody that's reflecting light and somebody that's casting it. And that is an intuitive understanding. It's also, I would say, probably easy for you to see both sides of an argument pretty quickly, or like when you're investigating a circumstance, you would probably not have too much of a problem being able to see the dark side and the light at the same time, right? And to not judge the dark side, right? Yeah, no, I have a video on my channel. It wound up becoming like a YouTube short related to some of the nonsense that people did in the name of religion and so forth. People are crazy. Sure, yeah. But so that's, consider that when you're talking about communication and where that comes up, where that lies. So, give me a moment here, sorry. Yeah, I'll have to take a look at that. Aries rising, yeah, moon in Cancer. Yeah, Mercury was retrograde, and so was Jupiter. Yeah. Where's Jupiter? Yeah, it's showing it here as well. Let me show you what it looks like on this report. Just so you can see it. You'll see the degrees, and then there'll be a little dot at the bottom there, and that little dot refers to the fact that it's in retrograde. Right, and Jupiter is as well right here. Okay. Doesn't show up on this report too well printed because it's a low resolution print. But yeah. Yeah, so basically, we have the sun. Oops, I'm losing my plastic. We have the sun in Capricorn. We have your rising in Aries. Let's go back to let's see here. That's the silliest thing you've said all day. Where's the moon? Yeah, moon in Cancer. All right, yeah, no, so far we're all in the same place. Mercury in Aquarius. Yeah, Mercury in Aquarius. Yeah, I'm not sure. Venus in Capricorn? Yep, Venus in Capricorn. Mercury is retrograde. Jupiter's retrograde. Looks like those are the only two. No. Chiron is also retrograde. Yep. Yeah, so I'm not sure if I don't know, I might have said something incorrect, but I mean, it's reflected on the chart there. I don't know, I guess it's more for the demonstration purposes of using the natal chart to set up the positions of the cards in the spread. So you would line up, what's in the first house, which in this particular circumstance was coming into Capricorn. In the first. So this is, as far as the tarot is concerned, if you were to tilt it correctly, it would be here, right? And that's correct, right? Because here's Capricorn, the actual sign, but that's not how the spread works. The spread is now taking the old wheel of it where it's supposed to be and applying the actual spot at that moment at the horizon, turned to where you were born, right? So it essentially gives you a positional slash vortex friction, right? And then that's what lines up the spread. So it's correct that why would you have Capricorn in the first house here, but that's due to the fact that it's designed to be used as a tarot spread. And the learning that comes from that puts this in understanding the different basic language of the houses and where they apply, and then being able to kind of read it from there. Now, there's a secondary, which we won't get into now because again, it would take too long, but there's a secondary level of granularity that comes into this as well, which is that each one of those majors has 3 deacons associated with it, and where they are with respect to your element and the other things going on. Like, for instance, in your first house we have Mars, we have Jupiter, right? So Mars and Jupiter are both in your house. One is coming, one's going in Capricorn. So, and well, yeah, we have Jupiter. Your Jupiter is right here. In the second. Or the first house, really. So, Jupiter in the 8th house. No, her 8th house is actually empty. Yes, Jupiter is still, well, I have it in 5 degrees into Taurus. 5 degrees into Taurus. Here, let me show you your Jupiter. Okay, it's 5 degrees into Taurus. From Gemini. Right. Like, here's East. And here's your Jupiter. It hasn't quite made it into Gemini yet. Up here is your Sun. Right, 10:30 a.m. And then noonish, you got well, not noonish, but at the 12 o'clock point in the sky, you had a lot going on right there. But that said, though, yeah. So, I mean, if it is close to the line, it depends on the chart you're looking at, I guess. The line here is right there. This is the Gemini line, and this is the Aries line. We have Taurus sneaking in and then into Gemini, so this is still in Taurus. Right? So, yeah. But you get the idea. And again, the whole purpose of this here, of turning the wheel, finding your spot, and assigning that to the first house, is strictly for the purposes of the positional meanings of this layout. And so, essentially, the 6 cards on the bottom refer to if you can imagine the wheel, the 6 cards, on the bottom of this, referring to the 6, in the house system, the 6 meanings. Now, the other 6 cards would go up on top, and, would be read accordingly as well. And then once that portion is complete, the second portion would be to grab the appropriate deacons. Okay, Arlo. It's all right, buddy. Oh, he just wants to be left alone, and Melanie wants to play suddenly. Is to find the appropriate deacons and then apply them as well with that same idea. Okay. So, I mean, you really read it a number of ways. You could read it specifically through the standard way that you would read a natal chart, but then using the idea of the majors and how they communicate the story from a different angle is the purpose, right? That's the reason that we do that. And actually, I meant to do that after covering the Crowley's letters. Crowley did a very interesting take on the letters, which refer to the majors, which are a very major part of how you read the wheel with respect to the tarot. But this is more mechanically how to decide what goes where positionally. And then how to read the particular cards. There's a number of ways that you can go about that, obviously. And that's a very kind of intimate process in determining how you read the majors with respect to doing natal charts or with respect to doing more like birth chart type stuff, as opposed to like positional things related to now or like future events and things like that. Well, no, I mean, there's one chart that we looked at yesterday that it was, at the moment of their birth was very intense energy right at the front. I mean, hang on here. So I have like 6 charts, and it was really interesting. But that one on top that would be fun to interpret. There's a lot going on there, and that's. Look what's going on like right as they were born. They were born very close to sunrise, and they were conjunct with Mercury, the Sun, their rising, and Neptune. All within just a couple of degrees apart, 3 degrees. That was really something. But there's some kind of neat stuff. But you get the idea there. And I'm sorry I jumped out of order. I typically don't like to do that because there's a madness to my method. And I did plan on starting today with by looking at a couple of the books that kind of go through some interesting stuff that we've been speaking about, which then would go full circle into Crowley, which would segue into the majors, which would segue into this. So I went backwards. But nonetheless. Okay. There we go. Although we did see a really, really pretty sigil for a birthday, and how that was derived, and that was a pretty symbol. You get the idea, right? That's what we're trying to do. These are really good for sigils. These are really good for, again, just drawing quick connections on a chart. And being able to kind of find those connections without having to mess up the paper, right? Or, draw different colored lines for different things, and to kind of draw that picture. So. just notate this really quickly so that I'll stick it in my book and I'll have it. Okay. Although I have it saved too, so if you'd like, I'll put the whole thing together and email it to you. And if anybody's interested and would like a chart, just send me an email. But the information I need that your birthday and time. The time is absolutely necessary to get a rising sign. And the location as well. Without a proper location and time, the rising sign will not be accurate. And the rising sign is the most important part of the wheel. It's the real sun sign. And so if we do any other sigil stuff too, I'll just grab this. I plan on looking at a few things later with respect to that. That might be handy for. Okay. Alrighty. Let's catch up on the chat here. Astrology is 2,400 years old. Oh, it's much older than that. Astrology was the first religion. When human beings looked out in their world and attempted to make sense of what they were seeing, one of the ways that they went about that is they created deity. They told stories. They created mythologies. And the reason they created those mythologies was in order that they could share that knowledge down the line. Stone crumbles. Stories don't. Stories live forever. And as long as the context is there, the story lives on. And so it gave them the ability to compare ideas in their world, and it gave them the ability to communicate those ideas throughout the ages. And so astrology was one of the earliest religions, where they would make the connection between the fact that women would menstruate at a certain period of time every month relevant to the moon. And they would look up at the moon and see that the moon, every time it was this shape, their wife would bleed. And it was only during that time, and it was this constant cycle. And so it was very easy to make that connection to the moon and birth, right? And that got human beings looking up at these bodies that travel, some of them faster than others. Planets move very fast compared to stars, and they would travel across the sky. And that was, one of the first manifestations of our compulsion to create deity in order to explain the unexplainable in our world. And so I would argue that astrology is probably the first, if not one of the first religions, along with animism. Animism being the idea that all objects have an intelligence of some kind. And the more complex the object, the more complex that intelligence, and the higher the power of its entity. That evolved into many systems like witchcraft and these other things where you embody the personality of these energies, right? Drawing down the moon and so forth, the goddess, and so on. Scorpio rising, wow. I believe Crowley was, well, first of all, Crowley was a comedian. Crowley was he was so smart that he could insult you without you realizing it. And a lot of the stuff that he wrote is kind of hidden humor. When you dig into his writings, the first time you read this stuff, we're going to be reading from book 4 tonight. That's one of the books that I have marked. It's a big pile. And each one has like 2 sentences. So it's going to be short, but really, and each one of them is telling the same story. But when you attempt to kind of penetrate Crowley the first time around, it's like, what am I reading? But then as you get through it and you recognize the truth, especially if you come to the one truth, because once you do come to the truth, you can go back to his writing and read it again and go, oh my God, he's hysterical. All that time I was taking this seriously, and that's what he meant? So, that said, caution when reading Crowley for that reason, because some of it is, he took himself very seriously, and the work was real. He believed in magic, and he used it, and it worked for him. But he also understood magic from a different perspective than anybody especially his contemporaries, understood. They didn't get it. And that was the real joke. They believed every word he said, and every word he said was true, but they saw it with the wrong eyes, and they heard it with the wrong ears, and so they were completely misunderstood. Like when I say the words, see yourself through the eyes of the world. When that statement dawns on you, it will be so profound, it will crack your soul open to recognize that that's what's actually happening, is that you're not the observer, you're the thing being watched by you. Right? And you are the observer. You're the world looking at yourself. And so that said, it's experiential. You have to know it, right? And once you go to that, then you can go back to Crowley and start reading stuff. And it's going to be, oh, okay, now I get it. That's what he meant. And so you'll know, and it'll become clear that he was taking all of it seriously, right? Okay, here. And of course he wanted an escape. I can imagine that when you finally come to the conclusion that what you are is actually an infinite point of consciousness trapped in a body, you're going to want to do everything you can to leave that body, right? Vertex in the 8th house. Interesting question, Brianna, right? What about now that supposedly there's new planets and some have been excluded? See, that's the point. Well, if you consider the original system, right, which is what tarot is based on entirely, the Kabbalah is all based on the system of 3 elements, 7 planets, and 12 signs. And those 7 planets included the sun and moon. All right, so it's really 5 planets plus the sun and moon. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. That's it. And then you have the sun and moon. So those were the original 7 planets. Why? Because that's all they knew about, right? But it really comes down to, more importantly, are those the original 7 planets? Because we know that the asteroid belt didn't used to be an asteroid belt. It used to be a planet that turned into an asteroid belt when it got collided or it had blown up or something. It was most likely a collision with another body that was very large, and some chunks of that are left in the form of the larger asteroids, right? But so that said, when this system actually was developed, which could have been literally hundreds of thousands of years older than we think, or as contemporary as 5,000 to 10,000 years ago. We know what the sky looked like then, but it could have been much, much different. And so we don't really know how many planets there were. And there is an idea here of like, oh, what about Pluto, which is this new planet? Or, our new understandings of the fact that there's something gravitationally out there creating an influence that we can't really detect. This like dark planet that we haven't figured out yet. It might be something kind of right on the outside of the Kuiper Belt. It might be something that's in a geosynchronous orbit. There's things that we don't understand. And none of those matter. Because again, once you come to the one truth, you recognize that all these things are simply a vocabulary to point you at that. And so use the vocabulary of the 7 planets and it'll work. Use the vocabulary of tarot and it'll work. Use the vocabulary of staring at a blank wall until you find that truth and recognize that you're at the end of time and you can peer back and remember anything you want and you don't need cards. And so it just depends upon the system that you use, right? Obviously, because of the anal retentive nature of occultists, certainly astrologers and hermeticists are on the top of that list. Anytime there's a new discovery, get it in the system. Like, oh, we have new asteroids? Great. Well, stick them in there. Okay, well, now Pluto is now a Plutoid of three different planets. Beautiful. It's a single that's now a trinity that's at the end. The final planet in our system is actually a trinity of planets. It's gorgeous, right? And so, we want to include that in this system here. And all these other things that we're going to learn as we put out these probes and other stuff, right? We may find out that there's things out there that are much deeper than we had ever realized. And now let's consider this as well. This whole beautiful magic works because you live here and your moon is here. Now go to Mars. Mars has 2 moons. Your menstrual cycle is going to change. You're not going to be, your body will flow differently. All of your chemicals are going to be different. All of your systems are going to be different. The ebb and the flow is different because the moon doesn't exist. How about the constellations don't look the same? There is no Mercury rising. If you live, and Sirius is your sun. And so it really just comes down to, within the holographic representation of our reality, this is the where and the vocabulary that allows you access to that. But then we take that a step further, right? And then we can investigate it using tarot, investigate it using I Ching, and scrying, ultimately, channeling. Right? And that's when you can really get into some learning. We could talk about that, Luana, as well. There is something to that, Emma, And I've mentioned it on the channel here before, the amount of time it takes light to exit a star due to the gravitational influence and the electromagnetic friction inside of a star. It could take millions of years for a photon that's born in the middle of a star to reach the outside of the star, to exit and come toward us. So, really, it's something special. And then it travels billions of light years to strike our eye. Wow. But yeah, Luana, we can talk about that as far as different techniques and ways to, resources that are really good for you to familiarize yourself with the process of reading the chart and how to go about that. And also how to connect the tarot. Whenever we're looking at the chart itself, we can consider that, for instance, the period of time that we're in right now is the 3 of Swords, right, based on the date. But that also includes the fact that we're in the energy of Saturn in Libra. All of us, right? And then we would take that and apply that with our individual deacon. So I was born during the period of the 10 of Wand. And the 10 of Wand combined with the 3 of Sword gives you some learning. That basic guidance right there alone can give you an idea of how you're going to navigate this period of time. From a basic perspective, you can then put the majors in. So Libra is going to be justice. Sagittarius is going to be temperance, which is actually kind of beautiful. And so if you consider Libra and temperance, along with the 3 of Sword and the 10 of Wand, and how that works out, you could, have a quick reading there as well. And we're moving from your birth card, in this case the 10 of Wand being fire, wand, into the 3 of Sword, which is air. So we're moving from will into mind, right? And not only mind, but Saturn, Libra, right? Not only will, but Saturn, Sagittarius, right? And so for somebody like me, I'm moving from Saturn into Saturn, and so there's a comfort level with respect to that. I'm not shifting energies at all, but I'm going from wand into sword. So it's the ability of wanting into speaking. And how that would go about would be Libra and Sagittarius. So, that said, having that a little bit of an understanding of the vocabulary of tarot and how that applies to your chart as far as the day you were born can be pretty insightful. And then, you jump to something like this where you'd pull up your wheel and understand how that coincides, right? How each house position gives you context. What is this? It's nothing until you give it context, right? And once you give it context, suddenly it's the identity. Suddenly it's your, like, how you communicate, right? Or whatever the case may be. And some of these overlap, obviously. With respect to relationships are going to have a lot to do with communication, pleasure, physical form, right? Relationships and love. All these things are going to have. Number 11 is huge with respect to how you interact, the types of people that you attract into your circle and why, right? But when you apply tarot to it, it gives you a more granular look than strictly the astrological, which is can typically be hung up as almost a 60,000-foot view. When you get stuck into just like the signs, as opposed to the story, because that's what we're here to do, is to tell the story, right? To be able to find the dramatic reenactment of your own creation, told in whatever language is comfortable for you to receive. Right? Northern Canada? Northern Canada is unlivable by human beings. Unless you're just really into Ukiuk, in which case you go ahead. Okay. An infinite number of versions of us. Right? That's one of the little notes I wrote down today to talk about. It's a simple statement. Yeah, it's not that you are nothing. You are no thing. Yeah. Oh, sure, I did it. I astral traveled on this channel about 4 streams ago, maybe 5. And I talked about the reality of it. I also talked about the reality of channeling and the reality of astral travel. And it's very real. And now there's varying levels with respect to the level of attention, because it does require there's a secret, there's a goal, there's the one truth, the inner sanctum, and it allows you access to something very powerful, which is the ability to literally turn the lens, meaning that if what I'm saying is, and let's pretend for a moment that what I'm saying is true, don't take it in mentally, just listen to it and feel it. Let's just pretend for a moment that the sound of your voice is the colors in the room right now, speaking in color to your eyes, the sound of my voice to your ears, the sensation of the desk and of your face. You are not the observer of the thought. You're the thing being observed. So let's just pretend that for a minute. And you consider the fact that ultimately, when you're in a state of listening, the only thing you can hear is the sound of your voice, whether it be through a light, sound, touch, smell, taste, all of these different reactions, these different senses that we take in. We're listening, and what are we taking in? The sound of our voice. That's what we're hearing when we're in a state of listening. So, what that means is that we have the ability through that realization to identify with that. We can identify with the world, because we are it. And when we do, for real, we embody that. And when we embody it, we can see through it. And we see ourselves through the eyes of the world around us, which is actually who we are. And when we do that, we can astral travel, because we're seeing it through the lens of elsewhere. Say, the moon. Look at the planet Earth from the perspective of the moon and see it through the eyes of the moon, because you are the moon. You just have to be there, go there. And how do you go there? By realizing the truth. It's a meditative process, so you can be walked through it through like a self-hypnosis type of situation, and do it the first time guided. And then after that, once you've entered the inner sanctum, you can happen anytime you want. You are describing some synesthesia. Similar, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. And there's power there. It's also the idea of you're not recollecting, you're sensing. So it's not like about closing your eyes and going back to a prior event where you're looking at it from a third person at yourself, remembering the moment. You're actually first person in the space and hearing this, like you're actually there, from a mental perspective. Sajini, what's up? Absolutely, throw a question in. Let me guess, Charmin? If I would have known you were coming, I would have worn orange. I'm sorry. But in the meantime then, Sajini, do me a favor. Put up your question. We'll do a reading for you. And then we have some books that I want to reference and talk about today that I got from a haul at a thrift store that I volunteer at. You'd be amazed the wisdom that you can get for free. A couple of these are very, very special books that I don't think I could ever find again. The Rubia of Omar. Look at this thing. The Rubia of Omar. Like, really? Are you kidding me? Like, look at it, from a church yard sale. And this one came from a thrift store. Okay, I have something marked in there. Oh, he's got a bookmark. That's right. There's a little poetry book I thought would be interesting. This is actually literally straight up Hallmark from the 1960s. Let's see, what's the date? 67 Hallmark cards. It's called To Be a Friend. Sayings and verses celebrating the beauty of our friendship. Cool. I'm going to go take a break too, Brianna, so you won't miss anything. Okay, and so... Oh, look at that. I've got a bookmark. Yep, that's right. Look at this little gem. Look at this gem. A Midsummer Night's Dream with commentary right on the page. Here's the script. Here's the commentary, so you can actually see, like, what is going on. Love that. I've got a bookmark. Uh-oh. Midsummer Night's Dream is pure magic. Required reading. You cannot enter the Inner Sanctum without reading this book. This is the small version. This is the companion to the Power of Now. This is like practice. And so apparently somebody wanted these people to have it, and it wound up in my hands. Mary, Janet, and Holly. Thank you, ladies. You know what this cost me? Nothing. It was on the free side. I'm pretty sure that that's blood. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't touched it yet, but it does look like it, doesn't it? Anyway, these were both free. I've got bookmarks. Good stuff. Are you kidding? Plato's Dialogues. I've got a bookmark. Oh, yeah. Dante's Inferno. So beautiful. The practice of Hangik Inga, which comes from a specific part of the world as a philosophy of basically living so that we can all benefit. I have something bookmarked. Great book. This was put into my hands for a very specific reason. And then this gem, this piece of gold. This was banned from the local library. And so now it's in my possession. And so this is a nice little haul, huh? And we're going to look through each one of them and grab a little sentence that I have marked and see if you can detect the story. Because it's in every single one of these. And it's kind of neat. And so let's take a look at Saji's question. I just need a moment to go make a cup of coffee. And then we'll answer your question. Then we're going to look at these books. And then we're going to start getting into some stuff like, for instance, the horse magic. I mean, don't forget, we created an entity and we sent it out into the world to do its deeds. I wonder what kind of nonsense it got into. I'll tell you why, actually, when I get back. Because I think I know what it is, and it was on the first page. Okay? And so we'll talk about that. It looks like that it may have been inadvertent racism, but we'll talk about it. So let's see here. He said he would meet up. Do I feel again he's hiding something? So wait, now he's gonna meet up? I don't even know what to do about this. All right, I'm gonna go clear my head, make a cup of coffee. We're gonna come back, throw some cards, and then we're gonna look at some books. And if you would like, we'll take a look at Plato first, then for Emma. Okay? So I'll be right back. In the meantime, everybody in the chat here, remind Saji that this guy is useless and is wasting her time. She is a smart, beautiful, happening person that's got like hung up on this individual that like he's totally playing the fiddle game here with her, as far as like won't meet up with her, not being honest, and keeps sort of pulling away, which is, you know, driving her nuts. So everyone explained to her what's wrong with all that and that she should move on and let go. And in the meantime, I'll be back and we'll look at the question in a minute. Okay? I'll be right back. Alrighty. So then. Oof, God bless you. Harlow's sneezing. He's giving me the side eye. It's a dachshund thing. I love you too, buddy. So let's take a look here. Okay, let's take a look here. So, you know what I'm going to use? I'm going to use a special deck tonight. I'm going to use the Rider, but I'm going to use the Gold Rider. I made a very interesting discovery. You know, I use 2 decks when doing special kinds of readings. One to represent the higher, and one to represent the lower world. And I discovered that the Surrealist Tarot and the Gold and Black Tarot are exactly the same size, like literally the same size down to the corners, and so they can be used together perfectly, shuffled together and used together perfectly. That's one of the things that I'm going to be speaking about tonight. But in the meantime, and this would be the higher world version since it's black and white. Okay, let's just shuffle this real quick. So we'll use this for a reading, and I'll do another reading later using the Surrealist Tarot, and we'll see how the two kind of tell the same story different ways. Oh, that's funny. See that? Well, what do we have here? Like 4 cards. Ooh, should we keep them? I don't know. Yes, this reading is for you. Let's see if that comes back up, then we'll keep it. Yes, this is for Saji. So, should I cut or is it ready? Tell me. And let's just do this in the outer order so that we can be like really open about this and not let's not take it too holy. I love dark coffee. I just do. So, here's what we're doing here. He's planning something, huh? Okay, well, let's take a look at this right here. Let's take a look at him individually, right? And we're gonna look at a couple of things here. First thing we're gonna look at is, and maybe we should actually just do this. Let's do this. Instead of answering questions, let's find some truth. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to look at is this individual himself, where he's coming from in his higher self, and how that reflects into the lower. So the higher self is going to be these gold cards on the top, and the lower self are going to be these here, which are the Surrealist Tarot. Okay, so they're very rich with color, they're kind of complex in their symbolism, right? And it's sort of the lower world version of the higher world symbolism. Okay, and so that's what we're going to use to represent where he is down here. Okay, how he is reacting to you here in the physical world, as opposed to what he's actually looking at doing in the upper. And then how those two things interact will give us a much better understanding of his motivation with respect to you. Is he playing a game? Which, you know, I could pull my notes out. He does this with everybody. It's just a game. You're never going to see the authentic side of him because he's not capable of showing it. It's just the bottom line, okay? So you get the gist. And now, at the end of the day, you have to kind of remember, whatever it is that you think you're seeking from this person, you're not going to get it. All you're going to get from them is them. Okay? What he actually desires in his higher self, okay? The idea, we've seen this card before. This is the Four of Cups, okay? And so what we're looking at here with this Four of Cups is the idea that these cups in the front for this circumstance, maybe if I tilt it, it'll be easier to see. And these are hard to see on camera, aren't they? The idea of these cups in the front for him are past experiences that he looks back on. It's all kind of part of his game. What he's looking for is to have these cups filled when ignoring the truth, right? And so it's the idea that, like, his higher self is really just stuck in a cycle of past emotion and ignoring the present. This is what he knows. What that means is that from his perspective of the lens he sees the world through. Okay, now this is coming up as the Tower, okay, for his lens. And what that basically means is that he sees everything as expendable. He sees everything as, you know, as an opportunity for this process to take place, but there's not really a care about the consequence. His words don't have meaning. This is the area, the card of divine intelligence. This is the upper sword pointed down. And so words to him have no value. They're just a thing that's used. There's no respect for them. This is what's actually in his heart. And that is the desire to make manifest his emotion. When this card falls in the heart position, what it refers to is somebody who is sort of like personally vested in manifesting their will, their emotion physically. They want what they want. But they come off naive. Like, they come off at the end of the day as somebody that's not necessarily in control, but they're sort of more calculating than that. And what this is what they actually have. What is the thing that they have that works for them? The thing that they have that, although we may see it as a potential flaw or see it as a detriment, for them it works. And it's the same idea, but this is their ability to communicate that. They're a talker, and they know how to say the things that work. So the idea of the pages is that they all represent the earthy part, the bringing into physical manifestation. But in this case, it's the cup, which is emotion, and in this case, it's the sword, which is the mind, their ideas, how they communicate. And so, again, this is a person who's kind of stuck in the idea of using communication as a tool, as a weapon to satisfy their ego. But let's take a look at the lower world, because this is the area where they interface with actual reality. And this is the place, this lower world, where we're going to look at how it interacts with you. and the people around him, the other people he's also doing this with. And this is going to be very similar. This is his will in the lower world. Oh, look, it's a horse. Who could have foreseen that, right? So this is the Eight of Wand. And we've seen the Eight of Wand before with respect to the battle, right? And this is where the battle is almost over and everything seems to be coming towards you. But now the art here is a slightly different kind of circumstance. What we have is that reality is starting to break down and sort of meld and run off. So we have this artist who is painting this beautiful picture, but then suddenly the picture starts to become a little more real and you realize, wait a minute, it's not what I thought. It's actually running off and there's no art at all and it's actually kind of gross. All right, do you see the progression there? And so the idea here is to maintain the illusion and make sure that nobody sees what's actually feeding it all, which is, first of all, this is what everybody sees and don't realize that there's actually a totally different painter that's not who you thought, and they're covering up a lot of ugly. So, but specifically as far as like his will is to maintain that illusion at all costs, right? That's really the point here. This is the idea now of the cup, not the sword. Up here it's a sword, down here it's a cup. And so this is the idea of what he seeks to be filled with. Okay. And the Nine of Swords is a card of anxiety. Okay. Anxiety of, see all these different clouds up there? Each one of those is a different sort of dark memory, right? Basically, the thing that he seeks is trophies. He seeks trophies. This is the sword from his perspective. So this is going to be his communication method down here. Why does he act the way that he does, and what does he use the words that he uses? The Page of Wand. Now this is interesting too, because if you look at the Eight of Wand, right, which is the painter that's trying to show the fake reality and hide that ugly. Well, here's the painter. Here's the person doing the painting, right? And what we have here is the Page of Wand. The pages all refer to the earthy part, and it's with the intent of wanting to bring that into physical manifestation. So he wants to bring that will, this will, into physical manifestation. The wand, right? First of all, that's a gorgeous card. I love that. The color, the purple and the green, the contrast. There's a lot of Joe and Miro kind of vibe in here, but you also have some Dali-esque kind of stuff going on. It's really just a beautiful, just gorgeous. But so yeah, that said though, the pages also, and this is an important part since 3 of them came on with the reading so far. Pages refer to transient energy. They're passing through. They're there to do their thing and leave. And what's their thing? To either bestow or deny the element. Bestow or deny the love. Bestow or deny the idea of mind. Bestow or deny the idea of the will. And finally, we have here, this is the idea of bodily down here in this world. The thing that he is striving to bring into manifestation. Yeah, he really wants to believe that he is in control and he's the man. Right. Look at this beautiful fantasy world that he has created for himself. So now let's consider the connections here, right? Because what we're looking at is first the divine will compared to his profane will. Okay, and now this is the idea of having these cups filled while ignoring the one. And then down here, it's the idea of this hiding those cups so that all you see is the one. So it's kind of the opposite, right? Like where here, it's the idea of him focusing on these past wins and ignoring the thing that's right in front of him. Whereas what we have is showing everybody that fake thing while ignoring the past. He doesn't want everyone to see these other ones because they know the truth now, and they're going to out the fact that the guy's not really honest in that. And look how perfect. They're the exact same size. See that? Like they're exactly the same size. Perfect. Love it. So they can be shuffled and used together as one big, thick deck. Which I've done a couple times today. It was a lot of fun. Okay, and then here we have divine mind and profane heart. And so what we have here is the idea that he utilizes words as basically toys, just throws them around and there's no value in it. And in his heart, it's the trophies. It's like he uses those words to gather trophies. Now here is the idea of divine heart into profane mind. And what the divine heart is trying to do is to bring into manifestation his true emotion. However, it's self-centered and manifests into the Page of Wands, which is this profane will being fed by profane heart. So it just is all around a selfish kind of vibe. And as far as the idea of communicating that physically, it all comes down to making sure everyone knows that he's, this special thing. A legend in his own mind. So you get the idea, right? So I'm going to use this as the center. And we'll use... Let's use this. Okay. And now what I'm going to wind up doing is I'm going to pull one more card, which is going to be the action card. Like, what is it that you should do next? So, what you have here is inside of this egg is a new truth. That's the boat kind of sailing off into the distance kind of vibe. And what it is the creation. This egg symbolizes a new birth. And it cracking open is symbolizing this new birth, right? So we can circle around this for as long as you want. And so let's play the game. Hang on, let me jump into the outer order so I can feed you your lies openly for free. What does he want with me now? He is confusing me. I can't tell if he's angry or what. He is a user that has no intent of ever being anything to you, ever. It's all just a game. Every name in his phone of another person out there that answers his calls is a trophy, and it will never be anything more than that. He does not have a personality. His personality is literally designed around the person he's talking to with the sole intent of fooling them into thinking that he's the magician. Right? Fooling everyone into thinking that this is who he is so he can collect a bunch of those. And you are one of those. That's it. You think you're that? You're not that. You're that. Just like her and her and her and her. And in his mind, this is him. And that's all he's ever going to be. Okay, so at the end of the day, he's going to confuse you because there's no truth in what he's saying. He's just speaking, whatever he's speaking, considering the fact that the goal, the game that he's playing is to collect trophies. And this is the same idea here. This is the what you should do card, right? Like, we have... Like, consider what we're looking at here. Just another person in the long line of people. And the further that those people get along in the process, you'll notice that they finally have roots coming out of their head, like they're starting to grow truth, where the ones on the bottom don't yet. They haven't realized that they're in for the same nonsense as everybody else, and the ones at the end are like, oh man, I wasted so much time. Yeah. Right? For some people, that's all that matters. That's their currency, is trophies. You know? Collecting his jar of hearts. And then what? There's going to be a point where he's sitting there realizing, you know what? What was this all for? True, right? But that's what he's going to wind up with at the end of the day. He's going to have a cell phone list full of people that won't talk to him anymore. Right? Which is just silly. This time, what does he want with me? What does he want with you? He wants to continue to play the game. Whenever you pull away, he's going to pull closer because he's realizing that he's losing. That's really it. He's a narcissistic sociopath that has you wrapped around his finger. That's what you're dealing with. It's really it. It's that simple. Now, at the core of why he is that way, there may have been things that have come up during his birth or during how he was raised. There may have been some things that have come up because of past experiences, who knows? But the fact is that's irrelevant. He's not going to change the way he approaches you. Oh, of course, and we can talk about that. Anytime you want to come in and talk about him, we can. But at the end of the day, that's not going to change. Even if you ever did meet him, he wouldn't know what to do with himself. Because now suddenly he has to face all these things that he's told you that are clearly not going to be the case when you meet him in person, right? So, yeah, M is right on. He's totally a sociopath. And he's narcissistic. That's the idea of that whole grandiose with the magician. I don't know about agoraphobic. I think what he is he's catfishing. He doesn't want to get caught. And if he's not catfishing, he's at the least, exaggerating. If you are insistent on not meeting somebody in person, there's a reason. Especially, depending upon the level of the conversation otherwise. If you don't want to meet in person, who are we fooling? So, let's do a quick thing for yes, and then we're going to move on. I'm just going to pull one card, and we're going to go like crazy on this one card. And then move on. We've got a lot of things I want to cover here, and it's getting to be past 3. Specifically, I want to speak about Temurah. Oh, okay. He wants to marry you, and have babies. Okay, so you're gonna have a beautiful wedding with horse-drawn carriages and pumpkins and little mice called Jack Jack. A dream is a wish your heart makes. No, seriously though. Okay. What we're gonna do, 9 of Cups? Which one was 9 of Cups? Well, he's more 7 of Cups. But, and he wants to have a bunch of yes babies. All kidding aside, though, so, I bumped into some really, really cool stuff. Right? So I'm going to grab a couple of things here. I'm just going to read a few little snippets from some of these books, and you tell me if you hear some truth. This is literally a Hallmark book. I think I may want to put the tree up. To really get that point across. There we go. So, what we're looking to do here is to find the story, right? Find the truth. And so these are just little sort of quotes, and I happen to open to a random page 25, and Confucius, Seneca, and then underneath that is a Hebrew proverb. And it says, "A friendless man is like a left hand without a right." Okay. A friendless man is like a left hand without a right. Okay. Not bad. A Midsummer Night's Dream, Shakespeare. Beautiful magic in this book right here. Act 5, Scene 1, Prologue. If we offend, it is with our good will. That you should think we come not to offend, but with good will. To show our simple skill, that it is true beginning of our end. Consider then, we come but in despite. We do not come as minding to content you. Our true intent is all for your delight. We are not here. That you should hear, repent you. The actors are at hand, and by their show you shall know all that you are like to know. Love that. We're going to talk about that one a little bit in a sec. That's good stuff. Let's go to Plato. The virtues of such a state, wisdom, courage, and temperance. Justice also to be found there. The same virtues appear in the life of a well-ordered individual. The virtues of such a state, wisdom, courage, and temperance. Justice also to be found there. the same virtues appear in the life of a well-ordered individual. We'll get to that one soon. Oh, what a beautiful find. The Rubia of Omar. Are you kidding me? Like, how did this come into my possession? Wake for the sun who'd scattered into flight, the stars before him from the field of night. Drives night along with them from heaven and strikes the Sultan's turret with a shaft of light. Love it. Okay, so here we go. Make the most of what we yet may spend, before we too into the dust descend, dust into dust and under dust to lie, sans wine, sans song, sans singer, and sans end. Alike for those who for today prepare, and those that after some tomorrows stare. A muezzin from the tower of darkness cries, "Fools, your reward is neither here nor there." Why all the saints and stages whose disgust of the two worlds so wisely they are thrust, like foolish prophets forth, their words to scorn are scattered and their mouths are stopped with dust. Myself, when young, did eagerly frequent doctor and saint, and heard great argument about it and about, but evermore came out by the same door where I in went. So come on. Right? You are here, discovering the magic of the present moment. That's what we're here to do. We're here to discover magic. Good stuff. Who? You. Believe in you. There is a being called Avalokiteshvara. He is a bodhisattva, a remarkable being whose characteristic features are his ability to listen. He practices deep, compassionate listening. The fourth training of mindfulness is this practice of compassionate listening. Listening is an art we must cultivate. First, you have to be able to listen to yourself before you can listen to someone else. You must not run away from yourself, but rather be very compassionate towards yourself. The practice of mindfulness will generate the compassion you need to cradle your own pain and suffering. Then, when you begin to understand and love yourself, you are ready to understand and love another person. Someone actually marked the spot. That's the cool part about getting a book from somewhere else, right? The Sutras of Mindfulness says, when walking, the practitioner must be conscious that he is walking. When sitting, the practitioner must be conscious that he is sitting. When lying down, the practitioner must be conscious that he's lying down. No matter what position one's body is in, the practitioner must be conscious of that position. Practicing thus, the practitioner lives in direct and constant mindfulness of the body. The mindfulness of the positions of one's body is not enough, however. We must be conscious of each breath, every movement, every thought and feeling, everything which has any relation to ourselves. But what is the purpose of the Sutra's instructions? Where are we to find the time to practice such mindfulness? If you spend all day practicing mindfulness, how will there ever be enough time to do all the work that needs to be done to change and to build an alternative society? How does Alan manage to work Study Joey's lesson, take Anna's diapers to the laundromat, and practice mindfulness at the same time? Great question, and we're going to talk about that. That's the secret of the inner order. The now what? Dante's Inferno. The map of hell. The Inferno. Now, you'll notice here that it's interesting how they obviously are attempting to show it going down into a well, and the drawing, does that. But how it's different levels underneath of each. And there's this section here where these four connect under incontinence, and the seventh circle against others, against salt, against God, is violence. But then past the abyss, there's some other stuff here as well, and we're going to talk about that as we go through the lower tree and we continue. Okay, and I read this already on a stream or two, but this is the reflection of the path that we're actually all in the process of taking right now as we speak. What a gem. Are you kidding? And it's brand new, like it's never been opened. This book has been sitting, let's see how long, and has never been opened. You can tell that this is brand new. What a waste. First edition 2011, third edition 2018. February 25th, 14th year. While the king's ostler was on guard in the mountains, a large wild boar, struck with many arrows, managed to break through the fence and charged into the king's horse, killing it. The officers, Choi Young-duk and Young Yun, declared, "In their neglect, the palace staff had allowed the royal horse to be killed. We request that your majesty permit their offense to be judged." The king replied, "It happened quite unexpectedly, as if it was unforeseen. How could they have known that this large boar would run into this particular horse? Do not speak of this again." Now, I grabbed this book yesterday just because, again, it looked like an interesting book on Korean spirituality, and I thought, okay, well, that's an interesting perspective I'm not familiar with, and I opened it up to a random story about the king's horse. Unforeseen being killed. But all kidding aside, on the page just prior, when his horse ate a handful of rice from a farmer's store, the king said, "The farmer has taken great trouble to farm this rice, and since my horse has eaten it, he should receive what would have been due to him." He then ordered that the farmer be given a sack of rice in recompense. Why does that matter? Because we created a being and put it out into the world in order that we should see the word horse along with the word foresee. Maybe I'm stretching. When you have duality, you have no divinity. They won't come together. If you have duality, you have no divinity. If you have divinity, you have no duality. It's a rule which you can't change. Is it decreed that you have to suffer? No. If you have your emotions and you keep your emotions, but if instead of using your emotions you use your spirit, you shall not suffer. I had all the occult powers, not just one. Then one day I realized, I am the most ridiculous man. I am performing miracles in the universe of the Almighty, which I know is the miracle of miracles. What am I doing? I'm stupid, but I couldn't get rid of them. Beautiful wisdom there. And look at this. Look at this. Just something. Good stuff. So, what this talks about is basically King Solomon is offered the opportunity to ride this rug, this magic carpet, right? And he says yes, and he grabs the magic carpet, and anyway, he goes through this journey. This person tells him where he wound up getting the carpet, and it came from a demon named Ashmodai. Ashmodai. Those of you who've maybe peeked into the Goetic will be familiar with that term. The artwork is really interesting in this book. There's a surrealness to it. There's a dreamy quality. And I'm going to cover this more in depth. I just got the book yesterday, and I haven't read the entire story from this perspective. I'm familiar with the story, but not from this perspective. And so I want to give it its due. Look at that bird. Wow. Anyways. But basically the reason that I grabbed this is that the creator of the magic carpet was a demon named Asmodai. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit when we get to Goetia. This is beautiful. And it's an occult kids book, and it's just great. Like, it's sneaking in Solomonic wisdom into a children's book about, Solomon and his magic carpet. It's really cool. And so we're going to look at that, and then I'm going to read this last, which is now. Let me just make some room here. And so, there's these are all books that were basically dropped off at a thrift store as a donation, and were ignored for so long that they were put onto the side of the thrift shop where we give away free stuff to anybody that wants it for any reason. And there's something to that. Isn't that beautiful? And then it wound up in my possession. So now, anyone familiar with Eckhart Tolle knows that a lot of what I talk about, he mentions from a slightly different perspective. But it's a powerful pointer to that one truth. Right? And so I'm just going to jump to a single page here that I have marked. And let's see what we can see here. If you have difficulty feeling emotions, start by focusing attention on the inner energy field of your body. Feel the body from within. This will also put you in touch with your emotions. If you really want to know your mind, the body will always give you a truthful reflection. So look at the emotion, or rather, feel it in your body. If there is an apparent conflict between them, the thought will be the lie. The emotion will be the truth. Not the ultimate truth of who you are, but the relative truth of your state of mind at the time. You may not yet be able to bring your unconscious mind activity into awareness as thoughts, but it will always be reflected in the body as emotion. And of this, you can become aware. To watch an emotion in this way is basically the same as listening to or watching a thought, which I described earlier. So, the idea here is to know yourself and only interrogate the mind is only knowing half the story. And part of knowing yourself is to know your body, go into your body, and to feel that life force, to feel your emotions physically. And you can interrogate them mentally later. The point is to feel them first for everything that they are, and then interrogate them mentally after the fact. Because it's very easy to get out of your body and into your mind when you're trying to interrogate your body. And the way to do that is to stay in the heart. Feel the knowing. You can think about the knowing later. What a great bookmark. Now, you always put it back where you took it so that you can find it next time you want it. So, Crowley did some very interesting work with respect to the magical process, which she didn't realize also gives us a good insight into the tarot. As an example here in Book 4, he goes through various different methods of magical work and of yoga with the respect of coming to the one truth. But included in this is the magical working and the tools of the magician. And now the tools of the magician include various, but they also include the cup, the wand, the sword, the pentacle. And by understanding their usage and how and when they're used, can gain some insight into the elemental meanings of the tarot cards. And so I thought it'd be nice to go through two exercises tonight. The first is to look at Crowley's description of the cup with respect to its usage and the magical working. Let's see if he has an example of a temple laid out and how he visualizes the cup. I know he has a diagram of the sword and so forth. And there's this. Right. Which interestingly looks very much like the sword that was produced for his Thoth deck, which he did not draw, don't forget. I mean, obviously on the one that wound up on the card, there was some inscriptions on the blade, and there was a snake around the hilt and some other things, right? But you get the idea. It's pointed down. And here's this cup. The pentacle and the fire wand. Right? He has a blaze of yuds on the top, flames that are in the shape of the letter yud. But that said, we can gain some insight into his interpretation of what the cup means with respect to the magical working, which will then give us insight into the cup with respect to its elemental correspondence in the cards, right? Okay, and so that'll give us a little bit of different context with respect to how Crowley viewed the cup. As the magical wand is the will, the wisdom, the word of the magician, so is the magic cup his understanding. This is the cup of which it is written, Father, if it be thy will, let this cup pass from me. And again, can you drink of the cup that I drink of? So consider that. Like, we usually think of the cup of being filled with emotion, right? And we think of the cup as the thing that we desire. But now, here is the representation of Christ saying, take this cup. Can you drink of the cup that I drink of? And it is also the cup in our hand of Our Lady Babylon and the cup of the sacrament. This cup is full of bitterness and of blood and of intoxication. The understanding of the Magus is his link with the invisible on the passive side. His will errs actively by opposing itself to the universal will, right? Obviously, we know that. His understanding errs passively when it receives influence from that which is not the ultimate truth. In the beginning, the cup of the student is almost empty, and even such truth as he receives may leak away and be lost. They say that the Venetians made glasses which changed color if the poison was put into them. Of such a glass must the student make his cup. Very little experience on the mystical path will show him that of all the impressions he receives, none is true. Either they are false in themselves or they are wrongly interpreted in his mind. There is one truth and only one. All other thoughts are false. Where have we heard that before? All right. So, just to be clear, Midsummer Night's Dream, Eckhart Tolle, Practicing the Power of Now, To Be a Friend, the Hallmark series, The Miracle of Mindfulness, and You Are Here by Thich Nhat Hanh, The Rubia of Omar, Plato's Dialogues, Dante's Inferno, Practicing of the Hangekigyan, The Master's Touch by Yogi Bhajan, and The Carpet of Solomon. Book 4. It's everywhere. There's no escape. And so, what does that all mean? It means that there's definitely a truth here, and that truth is undeniable. One of the things that I wanted to look at with respect to Crowley and the tarot, which is very relevant to what we've just been mentioning here, is how he views the majors. Because it's no secret that Crowley 100% believed and spent a good chunk of his work trying to convince the world, and he convinced me, that the tarot is a pictorial representation of the Kabbalistic tree of life, at least in its current form. It may not have been designed originally for that purpose. It was more there to reflect the truth. And the Kabbalistic tree of life is not a bad symbol of that truth. So what we're going to do is just take a look at this amazing work. And one of the things that he did in this section, let's get it correct. Are we still in Gematria? I think we are. Yes. Okay. So we have not gone into 777 yet. Not gone into 777, and we're on page 24 to 25. And what this is this little section on the bottom covers 3 letters: Aleph, Bet, Gimel, and then we have Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zin, and so on, down through the 22 letters. And there's a little description of them, and I thought, let's go through each card quickly, look at them, and see how they interpret what he's talking about. And then we'll try to get some insight by applying the algorithm. What is the algorithm? Every two has a third. Okay, and so by applying that, we're going to be able to get some insight into this particular circumstance, right? And so let's see what we can see. The first one he's talking about is the Fool, and the way he has it listed here is... Now this is written before the Thoth Tarot, just to be clear, okay? So this is prior to the Book of Thoth being written, which is where he has, like, this artwork is relevant. This artwork did not exist when this was written. Folly's doom is ruin. Folly's doom is ruin. So we can look at the opposite of that. The opposite of folly, the opposite of doom, and the opposite of ruin. Wisdom's creation is pleasure. Wisdom's creation is transformation. The Magician. The Juggler with the secret of the universe. And a really cool pet monkey. So, the Juggler with the secret of the universe. Yeah, it's... This is the beginning. This person just entered the Inner Sanctum. And then fell into the abyss. No, but all kidding aside. Okay. You know, I wanted to point this out. I'll do it now because it's in my head, and I don't want to forget this. If I am falling from above, and then it looks like it's coming from below, do you see what just happened? I'm falling from above, and then I appear to be appearing from below. I just wanted to point that out. Okay. Interesting perspective, isn't it? A few people in the room's head just exploded. Okay. All right, so, Gimel. The holy guardian angel is attained by self-sacrifice and equilibrium. The holy guardian angel is attained by self-sacrifice and equilibrium. There's really one, I'm going to jump around. I'm not going to go through them 100% because it'll take some time, but I encourage you to take a look at this. And all of these works are available for free online. You did not ruin the beginning of my stream. Don't be silly. I'm not married to a plan, like, whatever. I had a progression in my mind of where I wanted to go, but it happened the way it happened, and that's the only way it could have happened. So I'm no problem. Couple of biggies here. Zain. The answer of the oracles is always death. Consider the wisdom there. I say it all the time. Die daily, right? Let's jump to the chart here. And you'll see on the bottom here, on the side, are the different signs with the different element, planet, or sign. Right? And there's also this list here. Well, you know what? I guess it would have been that smaller one then. If I have a larger version. I'm not sure what this looks like on your guys' end, so let me just paste in another version that I can make bigger for you. Okay. I don't know if that's a little better. Okay. But so just to be clear here, the answer of the oracles is always death. It's just a beautiful term when you consider the understanding of what we're actually talking about here, right? We've talked about the Lover's card before with respect to the idea of the fall, and that the fall was necessary in order to manifest physically, and that Eve didn't eat the apple. Lilith didn't trick anyone. It was all you. You were Eve. You were Adam. You were the serpent. That's right. And so, it comes down to the fact that everybody involved did exactly what they were there to do. Bottom line. Mem, the secret is hidden between the waters that are above and the waters that are beneath. The symbol of the ark containing the secret of life born upon the bosom of the deluge beneath the clouds. That's heavy. I'm going to read it again. The secret is hidden between the waters that are above and the waters that are beneath. Symbol, the ark containing the secret of life born upon the bosom of the deluge beneath the clouds. Initiation is guarded on both sides by death. The secret of generation is death. Resurrection is hidden in death. And, dying, what's dying? We've talked about it many times. The thing that's, and I think the reason the word death is good, the thing that's dying is the self. And what are we referring to here? We're referring to the fact that it cannot return in its old state. It's changed forever, and it will never be the same again, and that's the point. Because in that moment of the dying is the ability to recreate. Instead of trying to heal, we transform. And it's in that opportunity to transform that we become closer to who we really are. So really quickly, because it's the clock is kind of ticking here, so and it's almost 4. But I did want to talk about the horse. Obviously, a couple things came up right in the Rubia, in mindfulness, master's touch. But the place that it was most interesting actually was I was at the thrift shop and I grabbed these couple of books, right? A bunch of books that I thought would be interesting to talk about. And a woman comes up to me. She kept coming in and out, and she didn't buy anything, and she, it was kind of weird. Like, what is she looking at? Is she stealing? Like, what's going on? And so she comes up to me and she's like, how much is that rocking horse in the window? I had no idea there was a rocking horse in the window, and so I went, I don't know. So I go out the front and I look in the window, and there's 2 rocking horses that I completely missed that are in the window, and I haven't seen them. They just were donated the day before. So there's these 2 rocking horses. Now, in the meantime, we're talking about it, right? And clearly it popped in my head, like, we did this thing last night, and then The next day, there's the horse popped. It was great. So, long story short, there were some other people that were in there talking, and one of them was an older woman who was complaining about her neuropathy. And she needed to see a doctor related to some medication because it wasn't working, and she wanted a new neurologist. True story. And so one of them mentioned a doctor. I wrote his name down. The guy's name is Dr. Forsica. So just to be clear, I'm at this thrift shop that I volunteer at one Saturday a month. That's it. I'm at that place one Saturday a month. It's not like I'm there 20 days a month. I'm there one day for 4 hours. That's it. And this old lady's complaining about her neuropathy. And while I'm talking to somebody else about this rocking horse, another woman speaks the word Dr. Forsica. Just to be clear, what we were trying to do with that entity was to bring into manifestation a horse that we would visibly see, and that we would that the word foresee would be involved in that. And so I don't know, that to me is a total win, right? I mean, the horse thing, first of all, horse came up in like all kinds of readings, like out of nowhere, pulling up random stuff, and that's fine. That's me stretching, right? That's where this is like, let's get to where we belong here, right? We're playing with toys, but still. And then the Dr. Forsica, come on. And foresee was just a word that I think Luana just spit out. Like, how about the word foresee? And it was like, okay, sure, let's do foresee. Why not? The whole point is to make it demonstrable, right? So who else had a good idea? Somebody else had someone else texted me some horse stuff. Who was it? If you're here, then let us know who it was. I think it was either Brianna. Was it you, Brianna? Did they had a horse story? Because if it is, you have to share it. And then I'll leave them around for a couple days, and we'll do a banishing, like sometime in the middle of the week. Because what I realized that we didn't do is we didn't put a clock on it. My intent when we created it was to give it a clock. One day. That was it. But we forgot. So we created it, and we didn't give it a time frame. So it may still work for people who didn't see the horse yet. I did. I know some people also did. And it's kind of neat the way it worked out. One of them was really cool. And so... But it comes down to just the idea of wanting to let it do its course, that we didn't give it a time. So we'll give it another couple of days, and then we'll do a banishing like middle of next week or something like that, right? And so before I go, I'm just going to cover a very quick, like, down and dirty Temurah here, because I built up on the side here a more complete version of the Temurah. We have ALBM at the top, and then ATBSH, right? And then your, which I'll talk about in a sec. That's something different. And then the ABGD. Now let's speak about those. Starting at the top, the ALBM. What this is that we've taken the alphabet ABGDHV, and I have that across the top for reference for us Anglos that don't speak Hebrew. It's ABGDH, VZCA, so on. So that's the actual order. And now you'll notice if we take the alphabet and cut it in half in 11 letters and just slide it over, the A would line up with the L, the B would line up with the M, and so forth, right? The G would line up with the N. And now the reason it's named ALBM is the first two letters. A becomes an L, B becomes an M, right? And so that's the name of the cipher. And so when we want to name a Temurah cipher, we name it based on the first two letters. Album, right? Al-Abam. Depends how you decide to pronounce it, but the goal here is that you have a mnemonic device to remember that this is take the second half and slide it over. A lines up with L and so forth, right? And so it's a very simple thing to see once you realize how that's derived. And now what we can do is take the second one down, the ATBSH, and you'll see how it's named. A becomes a T, B becomes an SH, right, which is shin. But now what we do here is that we can, and rather than sliding, it's like we broke off the back half of the alphabet and folded it up onto itself, so that the last letter and the first letter are together. And then the second and the next to last are together, and the third and the next to that is together, and the fourth and the next to that. Like they're slowly crawling into each other. So the first and last letter, and then the next one, and the next one, until they meet in the middle with the Kaf and the Lamed. Okay, and you'll see that process there as well. So this is a folding, not a sliding. Skip the one that says your. And on the bottom here, we have a very, very basic cipher, probably the most basic cipher of all. The letter becomes the next letter, meaning that A becomes a B, B becomes a G, G becomes a D, and so on. And we just pick a number, in this case 2. So 1 equals 2. The first letter equals the second letter. The second letter equals the third, and so on. Okay, so very basic. And what we can do is we can choose another number other than 2. And so, for instance, 4. So A would become D, B would become H, G would become V, right? And so we could rework that based on our own rule. And so we could decide that we can come up with a number like 78. 78 basically would be every A would be the 78th number. Now, what's the 78th number? I don't know. But I do know through theosophical reduction that 9 equals 0. So 78 becomes 69, which makes it a 6. So 78's a 6. And so since we know 78 is a 6, that A is going to become a vowel. And then, very easily, we can throw out a number. That number becomes a reduced number, and we understand the code. We can slide it, and we can do our decoding. Now, we can either decode to hide a message, or we can decode to find additional meaning in a word, right? And so I thought maybe a fun thing to do would be to pick a term, a word, and just do the Temurah 3 different ways. Take a look at the gematria for those words and see if we can find any connections just for the fun of it. So let's just get the calculator ready to do the work, and we'll begin from there. So let's get the calculator up. And let's shut off 9 chambers. Let's shut off, okay. And let's put up the text. Okay, so we need a word, and once we have a word, we can begin to demonstrate the different versions here of Temurah. So let's try to like a fun word, something fun, something interesting. And what I'm going to do is find the actual Hebrew translation. How about, let me get this page up here. So we can look up translation. Okay. ripple and especially. Okay. Ripple and especially. So first of all, let's just get this lined up here properly. No, that's not going to work. Let's get this right here. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. Wow, this one says Yep, okay. Where the heck is it? Here it is. Oh my gosh. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. That was a bit clunky there. Okay. Oh, that's better. So then, let's see. Let's do Ripple, and that is a Mighty Spirit. Okay. Good stuff. Well, let's start here. Advice. Yeah, wavelet, rustling. That's the correct term. So that's Aleph, Resh, Yud, Hey. Let's just get that typed in here. Yeah, Yud, Hey, okay. Oh no, that's a vowel. Vowel, Hey. There you go, okay. Alright, so that's going to be 1 plus 200 plus 6 plus 5. Whoops. Okay. All right. So the first one we'll use is ALBM, and so that Aleph becomes a Lamed, right? The Resh becomes a Tet. The Vowel becomes a Fe. And the Hey becomes an Ein. Right. Lamed is a 30. Tet is a 9. Pe is an 80. And Ein is a 70. It's 159, 189. All right. So that's a 9. 9 and 9 is 18 is a 9. All right, so we're just going to call it a 9. Because 9 equals 0. And we're going to look up the words, the values here in a moment, and we'll see if this is actually a Hebrew word in a moment as well. Let's try the other method, which is the AVGD. Okay. And again, in this case, the Aleph becomes a Bet. The Vowel becomes a Zayin. Oh, sorry, the Resh. Let's do the Resh. The Resh becomes a Shin. The Vowel becomes a Zayin. And the Hey turns into a vowel. Okay. And so then that's going to be 2, 300, 7, 6. Now, interestingly, they both are 9s, but the original word was a 5, right? Okay. Ow. Oh, that is the worst thing ever. There's very few things in life worse than bumping your head on the corner or something, really. I just can't. I just can't. I totally feel your pain right now. Like, I can actually feel it. Where I'm feeling it is kind of like on the right-hand side toward the, like, here's where I'm feeling it right now. Like right over here. Ow. So, let us begin with 212. Light, happiness, to pluck. Well, serenity. To carve, hollow out. To surround or enclose. To beset. Interesting, because the term was ripple. To tremble or quake, to be alarmed, to palpitate. To come trembling, to haste, trembling, anxious. Adversary. Ooh. Adversary, and it's the name of the Satan. All right, so what is that? That's Aleph, Resh, Bet, Arab, Arab, Yarab, or is that a K? No, that's a B. Anyway, yeah. So interesting. To hurt oneself. Ripple. Okay, so now let's take a look at the album, 189. Dan the Piper, cattle driving, a bat. Is that visible on here? Okay, good, yeah. I like that, a bat. Neat. Okay, and what's the final one? 315. Stronghold. Stiffened or frozen, which is interesting. That's like the opposite of a ripple, is like stiffened or frozen. to be, to exist, or to have being or firmness. Same idea, right? Frozen thing. Yeah. Cool. A heap. Oh, you're listening? Cool. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the smooth sounds of your soul talking back at you all night long. That's a little humor for the hermeticists in the room that have entered the inner sanctum. Come on, the smooth sounds of your soul talking back at you all night long. That's hysterical. I'm sorry. He who laughs at himself never ceases to be amused. Okay, so let's jump back here. Because one thing that I thought might be interesting to do is to see, is there a word that is letify? Let's find out. Let's go to the Hebrew translate. I'm going to swap over to Hebrew, and we're going to type in transliterated. We're going to type in LTPAY. Yeah, Lamed. Yep, that's what I meant. To impress. That's a real word. To impress. Which shirt? This one? Or this? Yeah, this is my desk. Okay. So the word, this is a real word, and let me type it in here. Now let's check this other one. BSH. What was it? ZV. Okay. In this, now the top one meant, because we just took the direct translation, right? So this was ripple. It just meant ripple. But it's neat that those actually turned out to be real words. Like, that's not always the case, obviously. And a lot of times it could just be, nonsense, or it's just the numerical value that matters. And they both reduce to 9, which is very neat. But so, yeah, and let's take a look. There was one other word, too. Let's just do that other word, and then I'm going to go, because my brain is failing me. Horses. Yeah, we did horse yesterday. I forget the word for horse. I didn't save this yet. So I might be able to open up the old one. Oh, no, wait, I did save it. Yeah, all right, forget it. All right, so, yeah, all right. What was that other word? There was one after ripple that seemed interesting. Especially. Especially. Love that. Okay.
במיוחד.
Okay. Wanted to make sure I had that correct here. So now this is going to be the words, or the word especially. Okay, and that is going to be Bet, Mem, Yud, Nun, Chet, Resh. Okay, so this is the word that we're actually referencing, and this is the word especially. And so now let's just do the math on that. Where's my, okay. 240, 10, 50, 8, 200. So 250, 68, 308, 310. Okay. Let's just verify that. 208, 258, 68, 308, 310. Yep. Okay, so now let's first do ALBM. And that's going to be Mem, Bet, Shin, Gimel, Kolf, okay. And numerically again, it's going to be 40 plus 2 plus 300 plus 3 where am I? Kolf 110. So that's going to be 342, 5, 445. Okay, and the last one is going to be B H D silly head G N K the resh. There we go. Okay. Let me make sure I got that right there, because the mem, I think I read backwards. The mem becomes a nun. Yes, okay, and then the yud is going to turn into a, yep. Okay, and then, okay, I did get it right. All right, good. Forget it. Okay. All right, so then just clarify that, and we'll get the math out real quick, and then we'll take a look. Gimel, nun. Kaf. Shin. So, okay. 110, 410, 433. Okay, so 310. And 310 is the word especially. Outpouring, gully or ravine, to tread out, to bind on, to bind up. Village of luck. A strong one, a young lion. To be heavy. To bind or collect. Now let's see if these other ones are actually words. Mem, bet, shin, gamma, clove. Oh, yep, that is what I meant. Oh. Oh, fully. I don't want spaces. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can't backspace in Hebrew because I'm going in the wrong direction and I'm not able to. Oh my god, how do I? Oh my gosh. There you go. Nope. Oh jeez. Okay. Whew, man, my brain just hurt. Trying to backspace. All right. There we go. From glass. From glass. So let's just do. Okay, and it's a real word. That's neat. Check that. Let's say Gimel, Nun, Option. I don't know if that's a real word. Gonakstash. I think it's just giving it to me phonetically. Yeah, so that one's not a word. But in the album version, the word especially means from glass. So that's neat. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah. Okay. Should be able to find that picture pretty quick. Let's take a look. Let's see, let's grab this here. That is kind of great, actually. And not only that, but sooner than expected. There was this idea of the unforeseenness, right? The unforeseenness. Anything else in here related to unforeseen? Love of animals. But yeah, isn't that neat? Very good stuff. What is that? Is that a music channel? 12 hours? So it's something else, right? Okay, so, but yeah, you get the gist of the Temurah is very powerful for looking at things from a different perspective, or for creating a separate word, but ultimately it was used in the outer order as a cipher, right? And so what ultimately we would do is we would pick a word, like for instance Michael, or whatever the case may be, and you know, the M would become a B, the Yud would become a Shin, and so right away we're saying Bash instead of My, right? And then the K would be a T, Bashet, Bashata. Right, and so you get the idea here. And there's a lot of clever methods for how you can change these numbers up. Like you can do every second or third, or pick a number in between, or combine multiple. So start with the term, and then run the ALBM, then run the second version through it, and so it's ciphered 4 times. So by the time you get it, if you don't know the order of the ciphers, it won't work out, right? So it's a great way to hide that stuff. So, I think that was it. Yeah, I mean, it's. Dr. Forsica. That's just so great. True story, too. Real doctor. Look him up. He's a neurologist in the Hudson Valley. I'm not kidding. But so, that said, though, I think this was a cool stream, right? We did a lot of practical stuff. We did a little bit of astrology and tarot, using the houses. We did some sigil stuff, right? And looking at different ways that you can go about that. And obviously, in this case, we could certainly take any of the learning that we've gathered through this process of Temurah and create a new sigil from the new word, right? Or combine sigils for that purpose as well. So, plenty of opportunity there. And ultimately, don't forget the goal of the work. If the goal of the work is not the one truth, you're playing with toys, and that's okay. Right? And so I will leave you with that beautiful? Let me find the number for Asmodeus. Andromalius, who's the king of kings, is in there. It's just great. Don't remember what number he was. It's kind of irrelevant. You talk to his boss. Here we go. The 32nd spirit is Asmodee or Asmodai. He is a great king, strong and powerful. He appears with 3 heads, whereof the first is like a bull, the second is like a man, and the third is like a ram. He also has the tail of a serpent, and from his mouth issues flames of fire. Three heads. A man, a ram, and a bull. Right. Well, the man we know is Aquarius. The ram we know as Aries, and the bull we know as Taurus. Right. He hath also the tail of a serpent, and from his mouth issues flames of fire. His feet are webbed like those of a goose. He sitteth upon an infernal dragon, and beareth in his hand the lance with a banner. He is the first and choicest under the power of Amaimon. I always love those names. Because it's one of these ideas that, like, and this is the funny part, they're not words. So the fact that we're pronouncing them already is really just, it's a made-up sound, because that's not a word that's meant to be spoken, right? Asmodee is just a name that we use to, right? That's what we're reading. This symbol on the inside here, right? And so, you know, just consider that. Yeah, you can do a lot of fun stuff with Andromalius. Andromalius is handy for writing if you've been wronged. If somebody stole from you, that's the one you want to call. Don't do that. Don't be calling demons. Call me, I'll take care of it for you. But all kidding aside, though, when you have an understanding of what it is that you're actually doing is when it's time to start playing with Goetia. If you have not entered the Inner Sanctum, if you have not come to the one truth, you're just going to confuse yourself and waste a lot of time. And you could wind up actually doing some damage by... it's like handing a gun to a child. If your interest is in exploring the Goetic arts, do it right, and you'll benefit from it. Don't, and it'll benefit from you. But that said, though, thank you so much to everybody who joined the stream tonight. And, you know, anything that we go over that I don't cover because of timing or otherwise, but you're interested in learning about, just simply reach out, leave a comment, leave an email. I answer, and I'm open to the feedback. Okay, and so if there's anything you do want to speak about, any individuals, occult individuals, any subjects that you want to discuss from a practical level, readings, spreads, magical workings, let me know, and I'll be happy to discuss it. And if I don't know, then we'll find somebody who does to come on and talk about it. Okay. Otherwise, thank you so much. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Just as long as my see, we made it through a whole stream without the internet going down, and that's awesome. So now I just have to figure out this quota. It's so crazy. Anyway, I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. None of this ever happened.